$10,000 to pretend I'm your long-lost granddaughter? Hard pass. I don't do family reunions. Miss Sterling, the pay is $100 million. Just sign the marriage certificate. Lemonia laughed. You think I'm stupid? $100 million to marry some CEO I've never met? It's a contract marriage. 1 year. Then divorce. Mr. Dominic specifically requested someone expendable. Expendable? Lemonia's eyes narrowed. Fine, but I want half up front. $50 million. Mr. Dominic offers $1 million now. The remaining $99 million upon divorce. Take it or leave it. She looked at the crumbling photo of her childhood home in her hand. Her mother's voice echoed, Never sell your dignity for money. But dignity doesn't pay gambling debts or stop foreclosure. Where do I sign? The Sterling Manor chapel was packed with socialites whispering behind their champagne glasses. Lemonia stood at the altar in a borrowed white dress, watching the doors. Where is the groom? The officiant whispered. Butler Wong cleared his throat. Mr. Dominic sends his regrets. He's been called away on urgent business to Singapore. He'll return in exactly 1 year. The crowd gasped. However, Wong continued smoothly, he sent a representative to complete the ceremony in his stead. The doors opened. A man in a tuxedo walked in, holding a leash. At the end of it, a golden retriever wearing a bow tie. Lemonia's jaw dropped. You have got to be kidding me. Master Dominic insists the marriage must be legally binding today. The dog is merely symbolic. Symbolic? Lemonia stared at the dog, who wagged his tail cheerfully. I'm marrying a dog? You're marrying Mr. Dominic. The dog is just standing in for photos. The photographer raised his camera. Smile, Mrs. Dominic. 3, 2, 1. Flash. Lemonia looked down at the golden retriever. Well, Rex, I hope you're worth $100 million. Lemonia returned to her small apartment to find the door, kicked open. Her Aunt Morgan and cousin Jocelyn were tearing through her belongings. Where is it? Morgan shrieked, dumping out drawers. Where's the deed to your mother's house? Get out of my apartment! Lemonia grabbed her aunt's arm. Jocelyn sneered. Relax, cousin. Damien owes some very dangerous people $2 million. Your little house is the only thing keeping him alive. That house is all I have left of my mother. Your mother? Morgan laughed bitterly. Your mother was my sister, and she's dead. You think your deadbeat father is coming back after 10 years? Wake up, Lemonia. You're an orphan. That property should go to family. Real family. Damien is the only son in the Summer bloodline. This is my inheritance! Jocelyn snatched a necklace from Lemonia's jewelry box, a sapphire pendant shaped like a teardrop. Oh, what's this? The famous heart of the ocean your mom loved? I'll take this too. Give that back! Lemonia lunged, but Damien appeared in the doorway, blocking her path. Back off, charity case, Damien snarled. Sign over the house, or I'll make you regret it. Lemonia's hand shot out and grabbed a frying pan from the counter. Get out now! She swung. Damien yelped and stumbled backward. You crazy! I'm calling the police. Please do. Lemonia smiled coldly. Let's tell them how you broke into my apartment to steal my property to pay off your illegal gambling debts. Morgan's face went white. Damien, shut up! 2 officers arrived. Lemonia handed them her lease agreement and pointed at the broken door. Officers, these people broke into my home and attempted robbery. Robbery? Jocelyn's eyes went wide. We're family. This is a misunderstanding. The officer raised an eyebrow. Miss, is this true? I've never seen these people before in my life. What? Morgan lunged forward. You ungrateful... Ma'am, please step back. The officer turned to Damien. Sir, do you have any documentation proving you live here or have legal access to this property? Damien opened his mouth, then closed it. That's what I thought. Let's go. As they were being led away, Morgan hissed, You'll regret this, Lemonia. When Jocelyn becomes the true heiress, you'll be begging for scraps. Lemonia slammed the door and slid down against it, exhausted. Her phone buzzed. Unknown. Number. Mrs. Dominic, this is Butler Wong. Master Dominic has arranged a welcome gift for you. Please accept delivery tomorrow at 9 a.m. The next morning, a convoy of black luxury SUVs pulled up. Men in suits unloaded boxes upon boxes of jewelry, designer clothes, and a briefcase containing stock certificates. Wong bowed. Madam, these are worth approximately $1 billion. Master Dominic insists you have everything befitting the wife of the YC Group CEO. He will return in 1 year for the divorce, at which point your settlement will be transferred. Lemonia stared at the fortune scattered across her tiny apartment. $1 billion. As a welcome gift? Indeed, the YC Group is the richest family in the city, worth over $50 billion. She picked up a diamond bracelet. And he couldn't even show up to his own wedding? Wong's expression didn't change. Master Dominic is a very particular man. That night, Jocelyn stood outside Lemonia's building, watching the delivery through binoculars. Mom, did you see that? $1 billion in gifts. If Lemonia married into the YC family, then we can... Morgan's eyes gleamed. We can replace her. What? Think about it. Nobody's ever seen Dominic's face. He operates completely in secret. His own company employees don't know what he looks like. And he just married some random girl through a contract. Jocelyn's mouth fell open. You mean... I mean, if we show up claiming to be Mrs. Dominic, who's going to question it? Lemonia doesn't have any proof. She married a dog. Jocelyn fingered the stolen sapphire necklace in her pocket. And I have this. The heart of the gate, ocean. If this is what I think it is. Mom, what if Lemonia isn't just some orphan? What if she's connected to the XS Group? That chairman who's been searching for his long-lost daughter? Morgan's eyes went wide. The $200 billion empire? That XS Group? The necklace matches the description. A sapphire teardrop, engraved with LS for Lemonia Summer. Then we make you both, Mrs. Dominic and the XS heiress. Jocelyn grinned. 2 fortunes, 1 stone. Lemonia stood outside the Civil Affairs Bureau, checking her watch. Today was the day. 1 year of marriage to a man she'd never met. 1 year of waiting. And now, $99 million awaited her signature on divorce papers. She looked down at Rex, the golden retriever who'd become her only companion. Well, boy, our days of ramen noodles are over. Once I get that money, we're buying a real house. One that Damien can't touch. Her phone buzzed. Unknown. Divorce appointment confirmed. 2 p.m. Don't be late. D. Finally. Lemonia grinned. Come on, Rex. Let's go get our fortune. But when she arrived at the bureau, the clerk looked confused. Mrs. Dominic? I'm sorry, but your husband called. He's delayed. He'll contact you when he's ready. Delayed? The appointment was today. I'm just relaying the message, ma'am. Lemonia stormed out, furious. That coward! He can't even show up to his own divorce! She was halfway home when her phone rang again. Unknown number. What now? A deep, cold male voice answered. Mrs. Dominic. This is Dominic. Her breath caught. It was the first time she'd heard his voice. You stood me up. Again. The divorce will happen when I say it happens, not before. The contract said 1 year. The contract also says I control the timeline. You'll get your money when I'm satisfied you've earned it. Earned it? I married a dog because of you. Then you should have read the fine print. His voice was ice. I'll be in touch, Mrs. Dominic. Don't spend money you don't have yet. Click. Lemonia stared at her phone, shaking with rage. That smug, arrogant Rex! We're going home! But when she turned the corner to her street, she froze. A massive demolition crane sat in front of her childhood home. Workers in hard hats were setting up barriers, and standing in front of it all, arms crossed and smirking, was Damien. Well, 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 Damien called out. Look who finally showed up! What are you doing? You can't be here! Lemonia ran forward. Oh, I can't? Damien pulled out a document. This is a demolition order from YC Group, signed, sealed, and delivered. Your house is coming down today. That's my house? Not anymore. See, my sister Jocelyn, she's Mrs. Dominic now, the real Mrs. Dominic. And her husband's company owns this land, so unless you can prove you're married to Dominic... Lemonia's blood ran cold. What are you talking about? I'm Mrs. Dominic. Jocelyn stepped out of a black limousine, wearing a designer dress and dripping in diamonds. She looked every inch the billionaire's wife. Oh, Lemonia, Jocelyn purred. Still clinging to fantasies? You married a dog, remember? I married the man. You're lying. Am I? Jocelyn held up her phone. On the screen was a photo. Her, standing next to a tall, dark-haired man in an expensive suit. His face was turned away from the camera, but his hand rested on her shoulder. This is my husband. Dominic. Lemonia's world tilted. No, that's impossible. Is it? Tell me, cousin, have you ever actually met your husband? Spoken to him? Seen his face? Lemonia's mouth opened, but no words came out. Jocelyn smiled. That's what I thought. Now step aside. This house is being demolished to make room for YC Group's new headquarters. Don't worry, we'll compensate you. How does 50,000 sound? 50,000? This house is worth 2 million. Was, Damien corrected. Was worth 2 million. Now it's worth whatever we say it's worth. Lemonia looked around wildly. The construction workers were moving in. The crane's engine roared to life. Stop! Stop! You can't do this! Watch us! Jocelyn turned to the foreman. Tear it down. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Everyone froze. A black Maybach pulled up to the curb. The driver's door opened and a man stepped out. Tall, dark-haired, wearing sunglasses and a perfectly tailored suit. Lemonia's heart stopped. He walked toward them with calm, measured steps. His presence commanded attention. Workers stepped back instinctively. Who the hell are you? Damien demanded. The man ignored him, his gaze fixed on Lemonia. You! Get in the car. What? You called for a ride, didn't you? Lemonia blinked. She had ordered a cab 20 minutes ago, but it never showed up. You're my driver? Something like that. Now get in before I change my mind. Jocelyn stepped forward. "Excuse me, but we're in the middle of—" The man finally turned to her. Even through his sunglasses, his stare was withering. "You're in the middle of committing fraud, trespassing, and illegal demolition. I suggest you leave before I call my lawyers." "Your lawyers?" Damien laughed. "Who do you think you are?" The man pulled out his phone and made one call. "Wong, shut down the demolition at Orchid Lane. Now!" Within seconds, the foreman's phone rang. He answered, listened, then paled. Yes, sir. Understood." He turned to his crew. "Pack it up. We're leaving." "What?" Jocelyn shrieked. "You can't just—" "Miss," the foreman said nervously, "I just got a call from YC Group headquarters. This demolition is canceled. Permanently." Damien grabbed the foreman's collar. "My brother-in-law owns YC Group. You can't cancel without his approval." The foreman looked at the mysterious man in the suit, then back at Damien. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding about who your brother-in-law actually is." The man in the suit opened the car door for Lemonia. "Get in." Lemonia hesitated, looking back at her house, still standing. "Trust me," the man said quietly. "Or stay here and fight them alone. Your choice." Lemonia grabbed Rex's leash and dove into the car. As they pulled away, she saw Jocelyn screaming at the workers, Damien kicking the barriers in rage, and her house, still standing, untouched. Lemonia caught her breath. "Thank you. I don't know who you are, but—" "You owe me cab fare," the man said flatly, eyes on the road. "What?" $50. She fumbled with her purse. I only have $8 in cash. Can you wait until I get to an ATM? Do I look like I need $50? Then why did you— He glanced at her in the rearview mirror, and for just a moment she saw his eyes. Cold, calculating, familiar. "Consider it a loan," he said. "With interest." Lemonia's phone buzzed. Unknown. "Enjoy the ride, Mrs. Dominic. We'll settle accounts soon." D, her eyes snapped to the driver. "Wait, are you—" But he was already pulling over. "This is your stop." She looked around. They were in front of the Sterling Manor, the mansion where she'd had her wedding a year ago. "Why did you bring me here?" The man stepped out and opened her door. For the first time she saw him up close. Tall, handsome, dangerous. "Because," he said, removing his sunglasses, "your real husband is inside, and he's been waiting." Lemonia's breath caught. The man's lips curved into a cold smile. "Welcome home, Lemonia." Welcome to Cold Fusion family. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to take you on a ride you won't forget. To my day one subscribers, my real ones who've been here from the start, I love y'all. Thank you for showing up every single time. Before we jump in, let me pray over you real quick. God, I'm asking you right now to bless every single person watching this. Cover them with your protection. Bless their family, their health, their finances. Give them peace in the storm and strength when they feel weak. Let miracles happen in their life today in Jesus' name. Amen. Now let's get into it, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story about a contract marriage gone wrong. This is about a woman named Lemonia who married a dog, literally, for a $100 million payout, only to discover that the arrogant CEO who treated her like a servant was actually her husband all along. This is about a stolen identity worth $200 billion, a family that would rather see her dead than rich, and a man who's about to lose everything because he made one devastating mistake. He looked down on the woman who was born to be a queen. This is the story of how one mistake ruined the CEO. And trust me, by the time we're done, you're gonna see why karma doesn't just knock on your door, it kicks it down. Let's go. 1 year later, Dominic stepped off his private jet looking like he owned the world. Because he did. The CEO of YC Group was worth $50 billion, had business deals in 20 countries, and could buy and sell entire companies before breakfast. He'd spent the last year building his empire in Singapore, closing mergers, crushing competitors, and doing exactly what he did best. Winning. The contract marriage? That silly arrangement his grandfather forced on him? He'd almost forgotten about it. Almost. Because today was divorce day, and Dominic had every intention of showing up, signing the papers, paying the girl her $100 million, and never thinking about her again. He didn't even remember her name. Lemonia? Laurencia? Whatever. She was just some desperate girl who needed money. A transaction. Nothing more. His Maybach pulled up to Sterling Manor, the family estate where his grandfather lived. Butler Wong greeted him at the door with a bow. "Master Dominic, welcome home. Your grandfather is in the study waiting for you." Dominic nodded, barely listening. His eyes swept the marble foyer, taking in the familiar opulence. Everything was exactly as he'd left it. Pristine, perfect, controlled. Then he saw her. A young woman in a maid's uniform was on her knees scrubbing the floor near the grand staircase. Dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. Simple black dress with a white apron. She didn't even look up when he entered, just kept working with quiet efficiency. Dominic frowned. His grandfather usually didn't hire help this young. Most of the staff had been with the family for decades. "Wong," he said sharply. "Who's that?" Butler Wong followed his gaze and smiled slightly. "That's the young lady your grandfather brought in to help with the household. She's been here for the past year." Dominic's lip curled in distaste. Great. Another charity case his grandfather had rescued. The old man had a habit of taking in strays. Orphans, struggling families, anyone. With a sob story. This girl was probably some distant relative's daughter who needed work. He watched her scrub the floor with an intensity that bordered on aggressive. She attacked that marble like it had personally offended her. "She's too rough," Dominic said coldly. "Look at her technique. She's going to damage the flooring. Tell her to be more careful or find someone else." Wong's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Amusement? "Of course, Master Dominic. Shall I relay your feedback to her directly?" "No, I don't have time to train the help. Just handle it." Dominic turned away, already dismissing her from his mind. He had more important things to deal with, like finding his contract wife and ending this farce of a marriage once and for all. Behind him, Lemonia's hand tightened on the scrub brush. She'd heard every word, every cold, dismissive syllable. And she smiled. While Lemonia was being treated like a servant in her own husband's house, Jocelyn was preparing to become royalty. The heart of the ocean necklace sat on Jocelyn's vanity, glittering under the makeup lights like a stolen crown. She'd taken it from Lemonia's apartment a year ago, and now it was about to change her life forever. Because this wasn't just any necklace. It was the necklace. The one that had been all over the news 15 years ago when the chairman of XS Group lost his only daughter in a tragic accident. Or so everyone thought. The chairman had been searching for that little girl ever since, convinced she'd survived. And the necklace, a custom sapphire teardrop engraved with the initials LS, was the only way to identify her. Jocelyn held it up to her neck, admiring her reflection. LS could stand for Lemonia Summer, but it could also stand for Jocelyn Summer if you changed your legal first name to Lisette, which she'd done last week. Her mother Morgan stood behind her, applying the final touches to Jocelyn's designer dress. "Remember," Morgan hissed, "when the chairman asks about your childhood, you stick to the script. You were raised by me after the accident. You don't remember much because of the trauma. The necklace is your only link to your real identity." "I know, Mom." Jocelyn's eyes gleamed. "I've been practicing for months." She'd studied everything about the chairman's lost daughter, memorized the timeline, learned the family history, even hired a private investigator to dig up details about the accident that killed the girl's mother. The story was airtight, and the necklace was her golden ticket. Outside, a convoy of black Mercedes pulled up. The XS Group security team had arrived to escort her to the chairman's estate. This was it. The moment that would transform her from a nobody into a $200 billion heiress. Jocelyn stood, smoothing down her dress. "How do I look?" Morgan's eyes filled with tears. "Like a billionaire's daughter." "Good." Jocelyn grabbed her Hermes bag and headed for the Docker. "Because after today, that's exactly what I'll be." What Jocelyn didn't know was that Lemonia's father, the man who disappeared 10 years ago, wasn't just missing. He was the chairman of XS Group, and the accident that supposedly killed his daughter? It never happened. His wife had died, yes, but his daughter had survived, hidden away by relatives who wanted to keep her safe from the enemies who'd murdered her mother. Those same relatives had given her a new name to protect her identity. They'd called her Lemonia. And the necklace Jocelyn was wearing? It wasn't just a family heirloom. It was a tracker. One that would lead the chairman straight to the truth. But not before Jocelyn destroyed everything in her path. Lemonia had exactly $8 in her bank account when she walked into Elite Couture, the most expensive boutique in the city. She wasn't there to shop. She was there because Butler Wong had sent her on an errand, pick up Master Dominic's custom suits and bring them back to the manor. Simple, professional, exactly what a cleaning lady would do. But the moment she stepped through those glass doors in her maid's uniform, carrying her worn purse, the sales associate smelled blood in the water. A tall woman in head-to-toe Chanel blocked her path. "Excuse me, this is a private boutique. We don't allow solicitors." Lemonia blinked. "I'm not a solicitor. I'm here to pick up an order for Dominic." "Sure you are." The woman looked her up and down with barely concealed disgust. "Let me guess. You're his wife?" The other associates laughed. One of them whispered loudly, "Can you imagine? A maid thinking she could marry into the YC family?" Lemonia's jaw tightened. She could walk away. She should walk away. But something inside her snapped. Maybe it was the year of humiliation. Maybe it was the fact that she actually was Dominic's wife and nobody believed her. Maybe she was just tired of being invisible. "Actually," Lemonia said coolly, "I think I will shop. Show me your most expensive items." The Chanel woman's smile turned vicious. "Of course. Right this way." For the next hour, they played a cruel game. The associates brought out gowns, jewelry, handbags, each more extravagant than the last. They watched Lemonia try on a $50,000 dress, a diamond bracelet worth $500,000, shoes that cost more than most people's cars. And every time Lemonia said, "I'll take it," they smiled wider. Because they knew what was coming. At the register, the total flashed on the screen. $6,200,000. The head associate crossed her arms. Payment method? Lemonia pulled out her card, the black YC Group Platinum card that Butler Wong had given her for emergencies. She'd never used it, didn't even know if it worked. But she slapped it on the counter anyway. Run it. The woman swiped the card. Her smug expression faltered, then disappeared completely. It went through. She looked at the receipt in shock. Mrs. Dominic? Lemonia smiled sweetly. That's what I tried to tell you. Across town, Dominic was in a business meeting when his phone buzzed. A notification from his personal account. Transaction approved, 6.0 Elite Couture. He frowned. He hadn't authorized any purchases. He called the boutique immediately. This is Dominic. Did my wife just spend $6 million? There was a terrified pause. Yes, sir. Mrs. Dominic is here now. Should we let her buy whatever she wants and fire everyone who disrespected her? I don't tolerate incompetence. He hung up, shaking his head. $6 million. His contract wife had expensive taste. He still didn't realize the wife who just bankrupted his boutique and the maid scrubbing his floors were the same woman. The Sterling Grand Ballroom was packed with every billionaire, CEO, and power player in the city when Jocelyn arrived wearing $200 billion worth of lies. She stepped out of a white Rolls-Royce, the stolen Heart of the Ocean necklace glittering at her throat, cameras flashing like lightning as reporters swarmed. Miss Summer, is it true you're the long-lost daughter of Chairman Summer? How does it feel to be reunited with your father after 15 years? Jocelyn smiled graciously, playing her role to perfection. It's overwhelming. I never thought I'd find my family again. The necklace was the only thing I had left from my mother. When the chairman saw it, he knew immediately. She dabbed at fake tears. I'm just grateful to be home. Inside the ballroom, Chairman Summer stood on the stage, a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair and eyes that had seen too much loss. He raised his glass. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'm honored to introduce my daughter. For 15 years, I believed she was gone. But miracles do happen. Please welcome Jocelyn Summer, heir to the XS Group. The crowd erupted in applause. Jocelyn walked to the stage in a custom Valentino gown, waving like royalty. She kissed her father's cheek, posed for photos, and accepted congratulations from people who would have ignored her a week ago. $200 billion bought a lot of new friends. In the corner of the ballroom, Lemonia stood in a black and white server's uniform, holding a tray of champagne. Butler Wong had sent her here tonight as extra staff for the YC family's table. She'd protested, but Wong had been firm. Master Dominic expects perfection at these events. You'll serve his table personally. So here she was, invisible in plain sight, watching her cousin steal her identity, her inheritance, and her father. Because that man on stage? That was her father. She'd recognize him anywhere despite the gray hair and aged features. Chairman Summer was the man who disappeared from her life 10 years ago. The man she'd spent a decade trying to find. And Jocelyn had gotten to him first. Lemonia's hand trembled as she watched Jocelyn loop her arm through the chairman's, laughing at some joke a business mogul told. Her father looked happy, proud, like he'd finally found what he'd been searching for. He had no idea he was hugging an imposter while his real daughter served drinks to strangers. You, girl, more champagne. Lemonia turned. Dominic sat at the VIP table, not even looking at her, just snapping his fingers like she was a dog. He still didn't recognize her. Her own husband couldn't tell the difference between his wife and the help. Lemonia filled his glass, her face a mask of calm. But inside, she was screaming and plotting, because everyone in this room was about to learn a very expensive lesson about underestimating the woman holding the champagne tray. Damien had lost another million gambling, and this time the people he owed weren't the type to accept payment plans. They wanted cash or collateral, and since he had neither, they gave him a third option. Bring them something valuable, or they'd take his organs piece by piece. That's when Damien remembered his cousin, the one who'd somehow married into the YC family, the one who'd humiliated him at the house demolition, the one nobody would miss if she disappeared. He made the call to a contact he'd met in jail, a man who ran a private auction on the dark web for wealthy buyers looking for unique acquisitions. Women, specifically. Young, pretty ones who wouldn't be reported missing because they had no family. Lemonia fit the profile perfectly. $2 million, the man said over the phone. That's what a girl like her would fetch. Bring her to the warehouse on 5th Street tonight at midnight. We'll handle the rest. Lemonia was walking back from the Manor's kitchen when Damien grabbed her from behind. She tried to scream, but he clamped a chloroformed rag over her mouth. The world went fuzzy, then black. She woke up in a concrete room that smelled like gasoline and fear. Her hands were zip-tied behind her back. Men in masks surrounded her, speaking in low voices about starting bids and international buyers. One of them yanked her head back by her hair. This is the one. She better be worth $2 million. Damien stood in the corner, counting cash. She's worth more, trust me. Her husband's a billionaire. You could ransom her for 10 times that. We don't do ransoms. Too risky. The auction starts in 1 hour. What Damien didn't know was that Lemonia was still wearing the tracker bracelet Butler Wong had given her months ago. For emergencies, he'd said. She'd thought it was just jewelry. It wasn't. At Sterling Manor, Butler Wong burst into Dominic's office. Master Dominic, the young lady's in danger. Her tracker signal just went active at an abandoned warehouse on 5th Street. That location is flagged in our system as a known trafficking site. Dominic's blood went cold. The young lady? You mean my wife? Sir, with respect, your wife has been living under your roof for the past year. You've just been calling her the Maid. Dominic's world tilted. What? No time. She has less than an hour before they move her. Dominic didn't ask questions. He made 3 calls. The first was to his head of security. The second was to the chief of police, who owed him a favor. The third was to his private military contractor. Within 20 minutes, an entire tactical team surrounded the warehouse. Dominic led the entry himself, gun in hand, CEO suit traded for Kevlar. They breached the door just as the auction was about to start. Dominic's eyes found Lemonia immediately, bound, terrified, but alive. And for the first time in a year, he truly saw her. The woman he'd married, the woman he'd ignored, the woman he'd almost lost forever. Jocelyn was running out of time, and desperate people do desperate things. The dark web kidnapping had failed. Lemonia was rescued, Damien was arrested, and worse, people were starting to ask questions. Why would the cousin of the excess heiress be targeted by traffickers? Why did the YC Group's CEO personally lead a military-style raid to save a maid? The cracks in Jocelyn's story were showing, and she needed Lemonia gone before the whole foundation collapsed. So she sent a text from a burner phone. I have information about your father. Meet me at the Grand Marquis Hotel, room 2407. Come alone. A friend. Lemonia knew it was a trap. But if there was even a chance someone had information about her real father, she had to risk it. She arrived at the hotel at 8 p.m. Room 2407 was at the end of a long hallway. The door was unlocked. Inside, the lights were dim, and sitting in the center of the room was a small metal canister with a timer counting down. 3:47, 3:46, 3:45. Lemonia's blood went cold. She spun toward the door, but it had already locked behind her. Electronic deadbolt. No override. Jocelyn's voice crackled through a speaker. "Hello, cousin. I hope you've made peace with God, because in 3 minutes that canister is going to release enough poison gas to kill everyone on this floor. The doors are sealed. The windows don't open. There's no escape." "Jocelyn, you're insane. There are innocent people on this floor." "Then I suggest you pray for them. Goodbye, Lemonia." Lemonia threw herself at the door, screaming for help. She grabbed a chair and smashed the window, but it was reinforced glass. Bulletproof. The timer hit 2 minutes. She could hear people in the hallway, laughing, talking, completely unaware they were about to die. She pulled out her phone and dialed the only number she could think of. Dominic answered on the first ring. "What?" "It's me. Lemonia. I'm trapped in the Grand Marquis, room 2407. There's a poison gas canister. 2 minutes. Lemonia?" His voice changed completely. "The maid? Wait. You're my wife? There's no time. People are going to die." She heard him barking orders. "Ethan, get every police unit to the Grand Marquis now. Chemical attack in progress. And get me the hotel's master control. I need that door open in 90 seconds. Dominic was already in his car, racing through traffic like a man possessed. Because suddenly everything made sense. The $6 million shopping spree. The way she'd looked at him with barely concealed contempt. The tracker bracelet. Butler Wong's cryptic comments. She'd been right there. His wife. His responsibility. And he'd treated her like she was invisible. 60 seconds left. The cavalry was coming. But would they make it in time? Dominic kicked down the door with 11 seconds to spare, grabbed Lemonia, and threw her into the hallway as his security team sealed the room and neutralized the gas canister. She collapsed against him, gasping for air, and he held her like she was the only thing keeping him alive. "I'm sorry," he whispered into her hair. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't see you." But Lemonia pulled away, her eyes hard. "You saw exactly what you wanted to see, a maid, someone beneath you. Now you know the truth." She walked away before he could respond, leaving him standing in that hallway with the weight of his mistakes crushing him. But the night wasn't over, not even close. Within an hour, the police had traced the poison gas back to Jocelyn. Her fingerprints were on the canister. Her bank records showed payments to a chemical supplier. And when they searched her apartment, they found something else. Fake documents, forged birth certificates, and a folder labeled XS Heiress, Phase 2. Chairman Summer received the call at midnight. His daughter was a fraud, and she'd just tried to commit mass murder. He arrived at the police station looking like a man who'd aged a decade in one night. "I want answers," he said quietly, "and I want them now." The police chief nodded. "Sir, we have reason to believe your real daughter may still be alive. We'd like to conduct DNA tests on several individuals, including the woman Jocelyn tried to kill tonight." They brought Jocelyn in first. She was still wearing the stolen necklace, still playing the victim. "Daddy, please. This is all a misunderstanding. Lemonia is trying to steal my identity because she's jealous." Chairman Summer looked at her with cold, analytical eyes. "Then you won't mind a DNA test, right here, Right now, live results. Jocelyn's face went white. That's not necessary. You already know I'm your daughter. Humor me. The technician swabbed Jocelyn's cheek, ran the sample, and projected the results on a screen for everyone to see. 0% match, not biologically related. The room went silent. Jocelyn's mask shattered. No, that's wrong. Run it again. It's accurate, the technician said. You're not his daughter. Chairman Summer turned away from her like she was already dead. Bring in the other woman, Lemonia Summer. Lemonia walked in wearing her maid's uniform, exhausted, traumatized, but standing tall. The chairman looked at her, and his hands started shaking. You have your mother's eyes. Sir, I don't. The necklace Jocelyn was wearing. It belonged to my wife. She gave it to our daughter the day before she died. The engraving says LS, not for Lisette, for Lemonia Summer. The technician swabbed Lemonia's cheek, ran the test, and the screen lit up 99.9% match. Biological father confirmed. Chairman Summer's legs gave out. He fell to his knees in front of his daughter. Lemonia, my little girl. I've been searching for you for 10 years. 24 hours after the DNA test, Lemonia walked into XS Group headquarters wearing a custom Armani suit and her mother's necklace, and the entire building held its breath. Chairman Summer had called an emergency board meeting. Every executive, every department head, every major shareholder was crammed into the conference room, whispering about what could possibly be so urgent. Then the doors opened, and Lemonia walked in beside her father. The whispers died instantly. Chairman Summer's voice was steel. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my daughter and the new CEO of XS Group, Lemonia Summer. The room erupted. Sir, with all due respect, she has no business experience. She's 23 years old. This is a $200 billion company, not a charity case. Lemonia smiled. You're right. I have no MBA, no corporate training, but I've spent the last year being treated like I was worthless, and I learned something valuable, how to recognize people who mistake cruelty for power. She locked eyes with each board member. You have two choices. Accept me as CEO or sell your shares and leave. You have 24 hours to decide. One by one, they backed down. Because Chairman Summer owned 51% of the company, and what he said was law. Lemonia's first act as CEO was to call security. There are 3 individuals who've been impersonating members of my family. I want them removed from the premises and blacklisted from every property XS Group owns. Morgan, Jocelyn, and Damien were dragged into the lobby in handcuffs. Jocelyn screamed the entire way. You can't do this. I'm the real heiress. The DNA test was rigged. Lemonia walked up to her cousin, heels clicking on marble, and smiled. No, Jocelyn. You're a fraud who tried to steal my identity and murder me. The DNA test proved what I always knew. You're nothing. You've always been nothing. And now everyone else knows it too. She turned to Morgan. Aunt Morgan, thank you for taking care of me after my mother died. Consider us even. Security will escort you out. Morgan's face twisted with rage. You ungrateful little... No. Lemonia's voice cut like glass. I'm very grateful. You taught me exactly who not to become. She nodded to security. Get them out of my building. As they were dragged away, Lemonia stood in the center of the XS Group lobby, her lobby now, surrounded by employees who would never look down on her again. She pulled out her phone and sent one text to Dominic. I don't need your 100 million anymore. I have 200 billion of my own. The divorce papers are ready whenever you are. Then she went upstairs to her new office on the top floor, sat in the CEO's chair, and finally allowed herself to breathe. Dominic's world collapsed in 72 hours, and it was entirely his own fault. First, the Sterling family cut all business ties with YC Group. Contracts worth billions were terminated overnight. Then the board of directors called an emergency meeting questioning his judgment. "You married the daughter of the richest man in the country and treated her like a maid?" one board member shouted. "Do you understand what you've done to our reputation?" The stock price plummeted 30% in one day. Investors pulled out. Partners disappeared. The company Dominic had spent his entire life building was circling the drain because he'd been too arrogant to recognize his own wife. And the worst part? He deserved every bit of it. He showed up at XS Group headquarters at 6 a.m., knowing Lemonia would already be in her office. Security tried to stop him. "Sir, you're not on the approved visitor list." "I'm her husband." "Not for long," one guard muttered. Dominic didn't argue. He waited in the lobby like a common petitioner until Lemonia's assistant finally came down. "Miss Summer will see you. You have 5 minutes." He rode the elevator to the top floor, his hands shaking. This was worse than any business negotiation he'd ever faced, because this time he had nothing to leverage, nothing to offer except the truth. Lemonia sat behind her desk in a power suit that cost more than most people's cars, looking every inch the queen she was born to be. She didn't smile, didn't stand, just looked at him with those eyes that had watched him dismiss her 100 times. "You have 4 minutes left." Dominic pulled an envelope from his jacket. "These are the transfer documents for YC Group. Every share, every asset, every property, it's yours. All of it." She didn't even look at the papers. "I don't want your company." "Then what do you want?" "I want you to admit what you did." He fell to his knees. The CEO of a $50 billion empire on his knees in front of the woman he'd wronged. "I was blind, arrogant, cruel. You were right there, and I couldn't see you because I didn't want to. I thought I was too important to notice the help. I thought marriage was just another business transaction. I was wrong about everything." Lemonia stood, walked around the desk, and looked down at him. "And now? Now I know that I married a queen and treated her like a servant. I know that I had everything and threw it away because I was too stupid to recognize what was in front of me. I know that I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging for it anyway." He pulled out one more thing, a simple bank card. "This is my personal account, my salary. Everything I earn goes on this card, and I'm giving it to you. Not because I think money fixes anything, but because I want you to know. Everything I have, everything I am, it's yours. It always was. I just didn't realize it until I almost lost you." Lemonia took the card, examined it, then did something unexpected. She smiled. "You really thought I married you for money, didn't you?" "I married you because I needed a way to survive. But I stayed—" She pulled him to his feet, because somewhere between the dog wedding and the poison gas, I realized something. You're an arrogant, blind, infuriating man. But when it mattered, when I was in that warehouse, when I was trapped in that hotel room, you came for me. Not because I was wealthy, not because I was useful, because I was yours." Dominic's hands cupped her face. "I don't want a divorce. Good, because I already burned the papers." She kissed him then, and it felt like coming home. "But you're still on probation. One more mistake, and I'm keeping the $50 billion and the wage card." "Deal." He kissed her again, deeper this time. Does this mean I can stop calling you Miss Summer and start calling you wife? You can call me Lemonia, the woman you should have seen from the beginning. I see you now. Good, because I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you. 6 months later, they stood at the same chapel where Lemonia had married a dog, but this time, Dominic was there in person. This time, he said the vows looking into her eyes. This time, when they kissed, it wasn't a contract. It was a promise. Chairman Summer stood in the front row with tears in his eyes. Butler Wong smiled knowingly, and Rex, the golden retriever, sat in the audience wearing a tiny tuxedo, wagging his tail like he'd known all along how this story would end. Because some mistakes cost you everything. But if you're willing to fix them, sometimes you get back even more than you lost. Here's what Lemonia's story teaches us. You can steal money, fake DNA tests, and lie your way into boardrooms, but you can't fake character. Jocelyn had the necklace, the fake identity, and access to $200 billion. But the moment pressure hit, she crumbled into poison gas and murder plots. Lemonia had nothing but a maid's uniform and $8. But she had something Jocelyn could never steal. Integrity that doesn't break under fire. The world will treat you like a servant when you're down. That's guaranteed. But how you carry yourself in that maid's uniform determines whether you're forgotten or crowned. Character is the only currency that never devalues. Remember that. If this story touched you, remember, you don't need a $200 billion inheritance to prove your worth. You need the courage to stand tall, even when they dress you in a maid's uniform. You need the humility to forgive someone who couldn't see you when you were right in front of them. And you need the strength to choose character over revenge every single time. That's the kind of royalty that can't be stolen, faked, or destroyed. That's the kind of Queen Lemonia became. Not because of the DNA test, but because of who she was when nobody was watching. Thank you for watching to the end. If today's story touched you even a little, please hit subscribe so you won't miss new episodes every week. Which moment did you like most? Was it the dog wedding? The $6 million shopping spree? The DNA test that exposed everything? Tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video so the algorithm knows you want more stories of justice, redemption, and people getting exactly what they deserve. If you're watching from a particular city, share where you're tuning in from. I'd love to see how wide our Cold Fusion family reaches.